I started in Andover after the academy. I stayed there for a few years, and then I went to Concord. And eventually I ended up in crime scene services, which is where I spent most of my career. I eventually got to be the commander of the section. And that was an eye-opener for me. And what I want to talk a lot about is the backstories. I mean, you hear about the murders and the suicides and so forth, but you never hear about what leads up to them. And that is probably the most disturbing thing. It's not the dead bodies, it's not the gore, it's not the blood, it's not all of that stuff. It's what happened before. And I'd like to talk about that. A story when I was on the job, on the road, which I don't envy the guys now because of the climate and so forth. Give them a lot of credit for what they do. I was driving down 128 one day, and some guy in a Volkswagen pulls me over. He starts pointing. He says, pull over, pull over. So I pull over. He comes running back. I figure he's going to talk about an accident. He comes in and he starts telling me about his life. His son died and his wife divorced him. He went on for 15, 20 minutes on the side of the road telling me all of this stuff. And I just listened, and when he was done, he said, "Oh, I really, really appreciate it. I needed somebody to talk to." He gets back in his car and he drives away. It's stuff like that people never hear about. Another thing I used to do to people, sometimes you get someone gives you a really hard time when you stop them. And why don't you do something, constructive? Go get a bad guy. Go do this. What's the matter with you? Leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, so license and registration. And you go back, and 9 times out of 10, I'd write them a warning. And I'd come back and give them the warning, and they'd shrink about 8 feet and start telling me their problems. So you never know people's attitudes, how they're feeling and everything. And of course, you stop them, everybody. When I get stopped, a few times I did, it's, something to think about. But the most interesting part of my career was crime scene service. And people have no idea what goes on in their towns. I'll give you an example. From where I live in Rockland, I could walk in 15 minutes to 3 murders that I covered. Now, I was one of 3 people in the office in Middleborough, and we covered all of the South Shore from Fall River, Brockton, New Bedford, Cape Cod, and so forth. So I only had the call 3 times, once out of every 3 times. And I had 3 murders within walking distance of my house. People have no idea what's going on. And to give you some of the backstories, we had one guy in Rockland who took his little 15-year-old kid down in the basement, told him he was going to be the man of the house, and in front of the kid blew his brains out. We had another couple down in Fall River. They had been having marital problems. He took her out for the day down the Cape. He came home, he found a letter from her attorney wanting a divorce. So he takes his wife down in the basement, kills her, calls his sister-in-law, tells her what he did, and then he kills himself. Now, a day before, they had a young daughter that had been doing seashells with watercolors. And she had painted on one seashell, number 1 mom, on the other seashell, number 1 dad. And when they fell, he fell beside the seashell that she painted, number 1 dad. She fell beside number 1 mom. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Another guy down in Fall River blew his brains out in front of his whole family. They had an apartment, a first-floor apartment. We found pieces of his head in every room in that apartment, pieces of skull. I hate to think about how that family's going to get over that. And another thing, being in crime scene services, We go to more scenes than any local department, even Boston. I mean, they're divided up against how many people that they have in the section. I'll give you a couple of examples how our training helps solve cases. One was in Rockland where a guy was stabbed 26 times. So they call me to the scene. I look it over. I check this. I talk to the investigators and everything. I say, this is probably going to end up to be a suicide. It's suicide. How can it be a suicide? He's stabbed 26 times. I said, you'll see. So sure enough, at the autopsy, you see 24 superficial stab wounds, all going in the same way. No struggle, no defensive wounds. Then a couple of plunges that ends his life. And it turns out that it was a suicide. Another one, this is a great example of the training that the Massachusetts State Police Forensic units have. I get called to Mashpee. Apparently a woman was on the phone with her girlfriend, and the girlfriend hears a commotion, and the woman saying some guy's name, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Phone goes dead. She calls the police. The police come up there. They find the house in disarray and blood all over the place. So, and the woman's not around. So we get down there. I get down there and I'm going to do a video. So I throw everybody out and I'm doing my video. I'm getting all the blood close-ups and this and that. I come out and I say that this is a setup. She did this herself. Well, what do you mean she did this herself? I said, no doubt about it. I'll testify in court. She did this herself. How'd you know? She said, I could tell by the blood. What she did was she dripped blood, probably from her finger, because it was circular. If there's a struggle, it's going to have a tail on it. And then that didn't look like much, so then she flicked her hand like this to get the blood to like splatter a little bit. And that didn't look like a lot either. So then she put her hand in it and did this, like this motion, and it was on the doorknob, on the lampshade, on the phone, on the countertops. It was everywhere, on the back rail going out of the house, everywhere that she thought that that's where blood would be if someone attacked her. It was totally a setup. There's another couple in Plymouth. She's dead on the couch. He's dead on a seat, on the floor rather. And the local police are in there drinking coffee and having a good time, and because they figured it's a murder-suicide. Well, when they lifted up, when the medical examiner got there, and there's no weapon, it was like cockroaches. Leave it when you turn the lights on. But, you know, you can never make an assumption like that. Never. You have to preserve every scene when you get there, period. We had a guy and a woman in Fall River. We went down there, and she was dead, overdose. And there was a note beside her young son. It said, Mom, I love you. I couldn't wake you up. I'm off to school. I love you very much. And he went, and she was dead when he did that. And I always wondered if he knew that she was dead when he went to school. But I'll never know. Things like that. I had a Sid's death, which is terrible. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that. I've been to over hundreds and hundreds of autopsies. You could drop me by helicopter pretty much anywhere in my area when I was in Middleborough, and I could walk to a scene that I had been. People have no idea the stuff that's going on. A lot of it's due to drugs. Give you one personal example. One of my sons, when they're younger, comes running in the house, says a local boy in town pulled a knife on my other son. I says, oh, what? So my neighbor's was a Quincy cop. We come running out. They're leaving. A girl's driving the car. It's a cul-de-sac, so they're coming out. We stop the car. We pull him out. We search the car. We find a knife. We get him arrested. So they're playing all kinds of games in court. You know, oh, he's a good kid. He had a record. you know, and the DA wants to get rid of it and so forth. And I said to the DA, I literally said to him, if you don't do something about this kid, he's going to kill somebody someday. Because I could tell by the look in his face that he was on drugs. And it doesn't take much, a look, a word, a movement, for him to go from this to this. And I know that. And they just kind of, A year later, we're investigating a murder in Abington. We found a fingerprint. This kid, same kid, stabbed his uncle to death because he couldn't get money off him for drugs. I'm like a soothsayer. I told the DA that. I mean, you could hear stuff like that all day long. They let people go that shouldn't be let go. I've taught, I've lectured at Harvard, Worcester Polytech. I've done tons of local classes for the local police officers. I think forensics is awesome. We solve a lot of crimes.